Morning. Today's the day we have our inspection and it's due in half an hour, so we'll wait and see what happens. He's just gone and we've passed with flying colours. Not only that, he said that it was a really well designed boat and one of the easiest he's passed in a long time. We're so stoked. Henry's doing a jig and we can buy our insurance now. Well, after all the excitement of yesterday, we're now cracking on with the last few jobs. We've booked the boat onto a truck and booked the marina to lift it off, and I should buy insurance today, and Henry is getting on with...
Hiya. Well, since last time I spoke, I fitted solar panels and all the controller and cables that go with it, only to find that the supplier had sent us the wrong type of controller. Luckily, I hadn't actually connected the panels up to the controller and the batteries, because that would have been a bit of a disaster. However, I spoke to them on Monday and they're just going to replace everything, but with better stuff in fact, so can't complain about that. I'm not going to give their name just in case. Right, okay, I'm just finishing off the doors now, and I'm having to scratch around now looking for materials because we just about used everything up. Just making a couple of doors for this cupboard over here. It's only for coats and stuff like that, but I only had 12mm ply, so I've had to invent 24mm ply overnight, which is a bit better anyway I think than 12mm, nice and solid. So I'll be getting on with that today. Yesterday I fitted the filler for the water tank as well, so probably next week we'll get that filled up and tested as well.
And while Henry gets on with his jobs, I'm concentrating on the paintwork. So this morning I painted the tiller arm purple, of course. And here there's the solar panels, which looked enormous when we picked them up, but they've sort of disappeared onto the boat, so we had to get a particular size because we've got quite a lot of furniture on the roof and we wanted the maximum power, but we've got there, and we've got a nice setup now. I'm just doing a few other little pieces, so I thought this bit was going to be covered in timber, but it isn't, so that's going to have some raddle paint on it, and there's a few bashes here and there down on the deck, this sort of thing, and it's gone right back to the primer, so I'm going to have to do a bit of touching up, and a few other little bits like that. I can't get too precious about it because probably the first time I go through a lock I'll be bashing the paint, but I want to start off with it looking good. So do I spy Raymundo? Hello. So Ray is coming here to help us with these skylights that we've got. That's the Houdini hatch, and away down this end is another skylight we put in, and they're quite awkward shapes to frame. The other day he lined the inside with some bendy ply, and he's going to take off some pieces of ply and make a cardboard template and cut some frames out for these. It was a bit beyond me. I'm not, my woodwork's not really up to that, so he's a grand help.
we've got steps now, of course. 100 flowers behind you.
You're going to attend to your own work, so you're standing there supervising. Well, things have become a bit frustrating. We got the second controller from our solar suppliers, and it was a better one, a Victron one, which is what we wanted in the first place, and they covered the extra cost. But unfortunately, over the weekend, when Henry went to take it out of the box and install it, he realised it was the wrong one again. It's just one of those things that happened, and they're mortified and they're trying to put it right, but in the meantime we're not sure when it's going to come in. They're trying to get us one for tomorrow, but coincidentally the boatyard, who've just had a new boat house built, have cut all the electricity off for the next week or so, and so we have no power coming in, only going out. Luckily Ray has lent us a generator, so we're going to get that fired up later and give it a go. But it's just frustrating, and I think it's worse because we're now on a, just a couple of weeks to go, and things like this just make you feel a bit anxious. It'll be fine, but it would be nice just to get it sorted. So hopefully tomorrow the controller will arrive. In the meantime, I'm putting up these lovely frames that Ray made for us. He's got a nice workshop and set up over on one of the houseboats, so he was able to knock these out, and it's going to sit up here. It's quite an awkward space, and there will be a slight gap when it's up, so trim would be awkward. So I've decided that when it's up, we're going to face it around the edge there with some thin rope, which will look nice. And I've decided that I'm going to drill little holes all the way around this ply here, so that when I come to put the rope on, I can do it with the leftover whipping twine that I had for doing the portholes in the bathroom, because I don't think it's going to be very easy to glue. So that's what I'm doing today, drilling lots of holes, screwing in the frames, painting them, and hopefully making all that look gorgeous. Okay, I've got the frame in place, and I realised I was going to have to put all the little bits of whipping twine in beforehand, because I wouldn't be able to thread it through the little holes afterwards. So that's all waiting to go. So I'm going to zip off down to the chandler's now and get some rope and see if my idea is going to work. Hope so. It's worked quite well with the whipping twine, but on the corners I'm just having to pop these little panel pins in. They haven't got very big heads, so I'm having to curl them round a bit to make them bite. But yeah, that's worked pretty well. I've just got one slightly dodgy area, and that's up there. I cut the end and it wanted to unravel, and I lit it with a match, but it was a bit messy, so I've taped it up for now, and I shall get some white tape and finish it off later. And after a bit of experimenting, I got both of the top hatches done, and I decided to put the rope on both sides. When I came to do this Houdini hatch, I pinned and glued it, which was actually easier than my original method, and it's come out really neatly. A really good way to finish off an edge. So that's all done. In the meantime, Henry is installing our bilge pump, and that's going to come out using the sink waste. So he's a bit dizzy going up and down into the hole. So that will be another job off our list by the end of the day. Yesterday he completed the calorifier. We're taking a break from working on the boat to come seal spotting. Henry saw one down here this morning when he was walking over the bridge, and it's feeding around here, I think, when the tide comes in. So it's just coming in again now. Watching it coming in on the mud down there. There's no sign of the seal. He went upriver this morning. Now we're nervously filling up the water tank for the first time, because if there's any problems we want to find out about them now while we're in the yard. So there shouldn't be any leaks, but we want to make sure of that.
It's like being a vet, isn't it?
So the other thing we've got to do is fit the breather pipe, which isn't in at the moment, because that does something. I have no idea what it does. What does it do?
I think it's probably to stop a vacuum in the water tank when you're using water, especially if it's very quick.
Right.
I don't know how quick anything is on the boat, to be honest. Though, but, and the other thing also is that since it's below the level of the filler, it would be a good indicator that the tank is full, because it just overflowed.
Right, yeah, because we have no idea how you tell when the water tank is full at the moment, except when you get wet feet, I suppose.
Got to get this done up because I've got to save the planet.
Yeah, it's no good if it overflows, because the bilge pump isn't connected yet, is it? We'll be swimming.
Right, so that goes there.
Of course, we forgot to check that the taps weren't switched on, and they were, and we haven't quite got the whale gulper in yet, so oh god.
You can't get everything at once, can you?
No.
But
God, that bath was dirty, the state of it. Never mind.
right, so
Well, that's one less thing to do on the snagging list. Oh, the whale gulper is gulping. Well, after getting the bilge pump and the whale gulper and all the other bits and pieces that I've forgotten now done this week, the last thing is to sort out this, it's a sort of modesty net for the sofa bed. So I figured when people are staying with us and they're in the salon on the sofa bed, if I come out for a cup of tea in the morning, they don't necessarily want to see me before they've woken up. So Jack, who's done all of our upholstery, came up with this idea, and I bought about 10 meters of muslin, and it's all been sewn around some cord which we can just hook onto the ceiling, and it's been cut into 3 strips of different lengths, and it will go around the bed and be hooked up to the wall, and it will make a sort of tent come mosquito net around the bed and just keep people a bit private. So I haven't seen what other people do on their boats for this situation. So yeah, we came up with this. It actually looks quite nice as well. So yeah, we're getting down to the nitty gritty jobs now before we go. Well, that's going to be the end of the video this week. It's been all sorts of bits and pieces, but we've got along to sort of where we wanted to be. Henry will continue on this week. We've got to get the heater in. That's the last big job. Tomorrow, the controller that I've just picked up will be wired in to the solar panels, so then we'll be getting sunshine power instead of having to rely on a generator. Next week, or last week, we'll be just going through the snagging list. So at the end of next week, I can give it all a big clean up and a clear out, and then I'll take you on a walkthrough of the boat because that has to be done. So that's it for now. See you next week.